Good day, ma'am. Good day, classmates. I am Christine Joy A. Pusta. I am the first reporter of Module 10. This module is all about the arrest and deportation of Rizal.
On June 26, 1892, accompanied by his elder sister Lucia, Rizal arrived in Manila. After lodging himself and his sister at the Oriente Hotel in Binondo, he went to Malacanang to pay a courtesy call and to interview the Governor-General Dispojol, who agreed to pardon his father and sisters, but not of his brother-in-law. This Pujol tried to dissuade him from going to Borneo and instead promised to give him lands in any island 2 leagues from Calamba. Rizal was greeted warmly by his friends and fans, including Andres Bonifacio, Apolinario Mabini, Ambrosio Salvador, Timoteo Pam, and Judato Arellano, who he informed about the goals of the La Lega Filipina that he planned to establish. They took Rizal on a tour to Malolos in Bulacan, San Fernando in Pampanga, and Tarlac the day after he arrived. During he pushed his compatriots to join the La Lega Filipina, or also called Filipino League. Rizal formally founded the league on July 3, 1892 in Elias Street, Tondo, Manila, encouraged by the positive reaction and response he received from his friends and followers. This historic event was witnessed by a large crowd of Filipino patriots. The aims of the La Lega Filipina were: first, unification of the whole archipelago into one compact and homogeneous body. Mutual protection in every want and necessity. Defense against all violence and injustice. Encouragement of instruction, agriculture and commerce, and study and application of reforms. The League's ultimate objective was to promote the progress of the country. Governor-General Dispojol ordered Rizal's arrest 4 days after the La Lega Filipina was founded, purportedly for finding a package of poor friars leaflets in his luggage a few hours after his arrival from Hong Kong. He was temporarily detained in the Fort Santiago for about a week before being exiled to Dapitan in northern Mindanao, where the pamphlets were directed against wealthy Dominicans who had amassed enormous riches despite their vow of poverty. At first, he lived in the residence of Don Ricardo Carnicero, captain of the infantry and politico-military governor of Dapitan. Rizal's elegant demeanor enchanted Carnicero. They had friendly discussions on multiple occasions and occasionally ate at the same table. Later, Carnicero discovered that Rizal had not committed a felony. Therefore, he sent Governor-General Dispojol glowing reports on Rizal. He allowed exiled Rizal a lot of freedom and just required him to report once a week because he had a good impression of him. Rizal was so happy and respected the Spanish captain for his generosity that he wrote a poem on the occasion of Don Ricardo Carnicero's birthday as a token of gratitude and admiration. When Captain Carnicero left Dapitan, he was succeeded by Captain Juan Sitges, a more demanding officer. But weeks later, he changed his attitude and gradually grew to like the deporter. Some members of his family took turns, paying him visits and staying with him for short periods of time to alleviate his loneliness. Dofia Chodora, his mother, Sister Trinidad, Maria, and Narcisa, as well as his nephews Chodosyo, Stanislao, and Prudencio. Rizal's interest in scientific, creative, literary, linguistic, and other academic activities persisted in Dapitan. He spent all of his spare time working on agricultural, business, and civic development projects. He also studied Visayan and Malayan languages and created his own Tagalog grammar. Professor Blumentritt, Doctors Ras, Joesty, and Mayer were among his European acquaintances with whom he kept in touch.
Rizal as a physician. Dr. Rizal continued his medical practice in Dapitan. Many patients from different faraway places in the Philippines came for consultation either for eye diseases or any kind of clinical ailment. He also operated his mother's eyes, Donna Tudora, for the third time successfully. Rizal realized that sometimes it is not advisable to be the doctor of a member of a family. The reason is his mother disregarded his clinical instructions by removing the bandages from her eyes, causing the wound to be infected.
Rizal's good reputation as a physician and surgeon became widely known. Don Ignacio Tumarong, a wealthy patient whose eyes were operated successfully and restored his sight, paid Rizal a 3,000 pesos as a sign of his gratitude for his ophthalmic skills. Another wealthy patient, Don Florencio Ascaraga, who owned a big hacienda of sugarcane in Aklan, paid Rizal a cargo of sugar for curing his eye ailment.
Rizal as an educator. In building the foundation of a nation, education is very essential. For Rizal, youth is one of the most essential ingredients in a transformation endeavor. The young people with skills and the necessary values who are willing to subordinate their interest for the common good. Without education and liberty, the soil and the sun of mankind, no reform is possible. It is in this context that Rizal established a modest school which was attended by a selected students whose ages 13 and 14 from prominent families in Dapitan. Students did not pay their tuition fees. Instead, they were made to work for his garden, to his fields, and other civic projects in the community.
Rizal taught these young boys the value of hard work, character building, respect of human worth and dignity, the spirit of cooperation and family solidarity. He also taught them the various cultural values of the Filipinos, taught these young boys reading, writing in Spanish and English, history and geography, mathematics, industrial arts, the study of nature, ethics, and gymnastics. He also emphasized the value of good manners and good conduct.
Rizal as an engineer. Rizal is a full-fledged surveyor which he obtained from Ateneo and passed the prescribed examination. In his desire to know more about engineering, he reads a lot of books to have a better knowledge about construction works.
Rizal, endowed with superior intelligence, was able to apply his knowledge of engineering by constructing a system of waterworks in order to provide people in Dapitan clean water. And he was admired and praised by an American engineer, H. Cameron, for Rizal's ingenuity.
Rizal as a scientist. Rizal found Dapitan and other places in Zamboanga an ideal place for collecting specimens for scientific study. He was accompanied by students and they explored the forest and seacoast looking for specimens of insects, plants, seashells, and other aquatic lives.
He discovered nami, a kind of fruit plant to be edible when cooked properly, but it was poisonous because it contained hydrochloric acid. In one incident, his middle finger was bitten by a centipede and the pain was so intense that he applied the natural fluid of the said root plant and the pain disappeared. On another occasion, to perform his scientific experiment, he applied the hydroalcoholic solution extracted from the nami to a cat so that he could dissect its gonad, and in a few minutes the cat fell asleep. Rizal discovered that the fluid extract from the nami was an effective medicine and capable of producing anesthetic results.
Rizal as a scientist. Rizal found Dapitan and other places in Zamboanga an ideal place for collecting specimens for scientific study. He was accompanied by students and they explored the forest and seacoast looking for specimens of insects, plants, seashells, and other aquatic lives.
He discovered nami, a kind of fruit plant to be edible when cooked properly, but it was poisonous because it contained hydrochloric acid. In one incident, his middle finger was bitten by a centipede and the pain was so intense that he applied the natural fluid of the said root plant and the pain disappeared. On On another occasion, to perform his scientific experiment, he applied the hydroalcoholic solution extracted from the nami to a cat so that he could dissect its gonad, and in a few minutes the cat fell asleep. Rizal discovered that the fluid extract from the nami was an effective medicine and capable of producing anesthetic results.
Rizal as a farmer. In Dapitan, instead of wasting his time doing nothing, Rizal bought a 16 hectares of agricultural land where he planted a fruit-bearing trees like mangoes, guavas, lanzones, santol, and durian, aside from cacao, coffee, sugarcane, corn, and coconuts. He also raised livestock like horses, cattle, sheep, and other useful animals aside from chicken, ducks, and turkeys in his farm.
Good day everyone, my name is Rosmay Talarok and I am the third reporter of Module 10.
So today I will discuss about the life of Rizal as an entrepreneur, inventor, artist, and linguist. Rizal as an entrepreneur. Rizal was a person who organized, managed, and assumed responsibility in any kind of human endeavor. In Dapitan, aside from farming, he engaged in business. His business partnership with the Dapitan merchant turned profitable. His business ventures included fishing, copra, and hemp industries. Rizal introduced a modern method of hemp stripping through a machine in order to improve the quality and at the same time increase the production. He also organized a cooperative in Dapitan where the farmers jointly owned means of production and distribution of goods and services operated by themselves to get rid of pernicious business practices and stabilize the price of hemp in the market. In one of his letters to his brother-in-law Manuel Hidalgo, he expressed his plan to improve the fishing industry of Dapitan. He observed that Dapitan, like Calamba, has good grounds for fishing because it abounds with corals. Rizal as an inventor. Perhaps few Filipinos knew that Rizal was also an inventor. Even when he was still in Calamba and actively engaged in the practice of medicine, he invented a cigarette lighter he called sulpukan. This unique cigarette lighter was made of Philippine wood and its mechanism. He sent this unique invention to Blumentritt as a gift which he became very much delighted with. Meanwhile, while in Dapitan as an exile, he invented a machine for making bricks, a rectangular block of clay hardened by drying in the sun or burning in the kiln used building and paving. The machine could manufacture 6,000 pieces of bricks every day. He wrote to Blumentritt that I have made a wooden machine for making bricks and I believe it could make more or less 6,000 bricks a day. Rizal as an artist. Rizal as a young boy at the age of 5, he revealed his remarkable talents for the arts. Before learning how to read, he could already sketch different pictures of animals, flowers, mountains, and human figures. He had also developed an interest in creating different forms and shapes with wax and clay. He carves figures of animals and human figures in wood. On one occasion, when Rizal was a young boy in Calamba, a religious banner which was always used during town fiesta was damaged, thereby diminishing to a certain extent its aesthetic value. To replace it, Rizal painted in oil colors a new banner that delighted the town people because it was more beautiful than the original one. Rizal impressed his Jesuit professor in the Ateneo when he was studying because of artistic skill when he carved an image of our Virgin Mary on a piece baticuling or Philippine hardwood with his pocket knife. In London, Rizal wrote The Triumph of Death over Life and The Triumph of Science over Death. In Dapitan, he also wrote The Mother's Revenge. He modeled a statue representing the mother dog killing the crocodile by way of avenging her lost puppy. Other sculpture work of Rizal in Dapitan using wood as its medium were the bust of Father Garieco, an Ateneo professor, and Josephine Bracken, which appeared realistic because of their
anatomical shapes and proportion. Rizal as a linguist. Rizal could be ranked with the world's great linguistics because of his remarkable skills in speaking several languages, as follows: Spanish, Latin, English, Greek, French, German, Arabic, Hebrew, Dutch, Italian, Chinese, Japanese, Swedish, Portuguese, Russian, Sanskrit, Ilocano, Bisayan, and Subanon. In spite of his other activities, he made comparative study of the Bisayan and Malayan languages and conducted research on the Bisayan or Cebuana and Subanon languages.
Rizal as a writer. Rizal wrote quite a number of short stories, novels, poems, essays, plays, and fables. He translated his works in different languages, for example, Spanish, English, Italian, French, and German, while in Dapitan. Rizal as a musician. Music had always been a part in every Filipino reunion and social function in Barcelona, Madrid, and other cities of Europe. At times when feeling nostalgic of their loved ones back home, it provided therapeutic effects to lessen their loneliness. Rizal admitted that he had no natural aptitude for music, but with his determined effort and constant practice, he learned to play the flute fairly well. On various occasions during social gatherings of Filipinos in Barcelona and Madrid, Rizal as a flutist can produce melodies and expressive sounds to the delight of his friends and other guests. It is said that he composed the songs entitled Leonor El Canto del Prisoner and Alinmang Lahi, which were characterized by melodic rhyme and tone and were expressive of sentiments and emotions. Josephine Bracken and Dapitan. One of the most significant events worth remembering in connection with Rizal's life in Dapitan was the coming of Miss Josephine Bracken. In the still of the night after a hard day's work, he could not free himself from the pangs of extreme melancholy. He thought of his family, relatives and friends, and his happy boyhood days in Calamba, the exhilarating moments of life in the historical and beautiful cities of Europe and other places of interest he had are gone. The better memories about Leonor Rivera's marriage to an Englishman whom he loved 50 dearly for years, and the many disappointments and sad experiences caused his heart to bleed. The misfortune and challenges which marred and befallen in his life could wreak a man of a weaker stuff. Not me, lakas ko eh. But God in His time and in His mysterious way writes straight in crack lines. The light of hope beaconed lovingly in the distance upon the arrival of an 18-year-old lady, sweet, slender, almond blue eyes, brown hair, and dressed with elegant simplicity. And that is Miss Josephine Bracken. Josephine Bracken was born on October 3, 1876 in Hong Kong of Irish parents. Her mother died from childbirth and was adopted by an American engineer, George Taufer, who after a few years had delightful memories with amiable and kind-hearted Josephine. Her adopted father, Engineer Taufer, and Manuela Orlac, a Filipino companion, arrived in Dapitan in February 1895, coming the way from Hong Kong. Their purpose of going to Dapitan was to consult Dr. Rizal for surgical treatment of Engineer Taufer's blindness, whose reputation as ophthalmic surgeon was not only recognized in the country but also in Hong Kong. Mr. Julio Lorente, a friend of Rizal, gave them a note of introduction. Rizal and Josephine fell in love. Kakainlaban na. And each day that passed seemed to bring them closer together. Towards the end of February, Rizal told George Taufer that he was in love with Josephine and that he intended to marry her. Tapang Marisal. Taufer objected vehemently. Both Rizal and Josephine calmed him down because Josephine promising to accompany him back to Manila and telling Rizal she would return, na parang MacArthur lang. In April, into the arms of Rizal to an ecstatic reunion of a man burdened by exile because of gallantly fought for the emerging nation, and a woman saddened by a forlorn past, orphan and dominated but adopted father. Josephine gave joy to Rizal. Rizal was fascinated by her lack of pretenses, so their love blossomed. Sana all lumago. Perhaps they were destined to be husband and wife because of their intense mutual love for each other. Since there were no legal impediments, they agreed to marry. Father Obak, the parish priest of Dapitan, refused to marry them in the absence of the ecclesiastical permission from the Bishop of Cebu. Since the parish of Dapitan could not solemnize the marriage, one moonlight night, they went to the beach, clasped each other's hand, and united themselves before heaven. Better union by the grace of God than marriage darkened by sin. Rizal and Josephine pledged to love each other and live as husband and wife, and thereafter lived happily. Parang fairy tale, happily ever after. So great was this Irish orphan love him. The most important document is the letter to the Bishop of Cebu. It bears a documentary stamp in the number 3.486.477. Most excellent and illustrious Bishop of Cebu, Fray Martin Garcia Alcocer. And the letter is, Most illustrious Sir, Mr. Rizal Mercado Y. Alonso, native of Calambal, Laguna, age 33 years, with your respect expounds to your lordship. So it means 33, then 18 years old. Chamba ka, Rizal. This is the letter ulit. Desiring to marry in the church, Miss Josefina Leopoldina Taufer, age 18 years, orphan of mother, registered in the American Consulate in Manila, where she was residing, and also professing the Roman Catholic and Apostolic religion. And having been informed by the very Reverend Father Antonio Obach, missionary of the district, that it was necessary to apply to your illustrious lordship for the issue of the permit. In accordance with customs, request your lordship to please issue the pertinent authorization. He has no doubt that he will be granted this permission, considering the recognized piety and righteousness of your lordship, whose life may God preserve for many years. Dapitan 6, March 1895, Most excellent and very reverend Bishop of Cebu. How the late Mr. Famorca of Dapitan came to possess these documents is a mystery. In January of following year, Rizal wrote his mother to tell her that he was sending her some salted fish to you, prepared by the person who lives at my home. She is good, obedient, and meek. All that we lack is to be married. But as you yourself say, it is better to live in the grace of God than to be married in the mortal sin. To his sister, training he wrote, Miss G is better than her reputation. What we only need is to pay accurate the 13 to say it is not necessary to us. Until now, we have not quarreled. We are always gay. The public can say that it is a scandal. Without doubt, it is. It is 6 years scandalous to live better than married people. After living from almost 8 months, Josephine was in the family way, but unfortunately she gave birth prematurely to an 8-month boy that lived for only few hours. But for the couple, the loss of the baby was indeed unbearable. Pinos believed that Rizal led all immortal life with Josephine in Dapitan. The letter to Bishop threw a new light on the relationship. Obviously, Rizal would have married her if circumstances had permitted. On March 14, 1895, the same month in which he wrote to the bishop, he sent a letter to his mother in the Manila through Josephine.